When you're trying to like step into uncharted waters and all of that, some people don't quite get it. It's like, why are you throwing this away? What if it doesn't work? Hello, and welcome to the White Coat Entrepreneurs podcast, the place where physicians, pharmacists, and other healthcare professionals who are pursuing their entrepreneurial dreams come together to share their journeys, insights, stories, and what they're learning, what they're doing, and how they're thriving in their entrepreneurial ventures. I am Dr. Victoria Onyeje, your host. Last episode, I shared how my journey took an unconventional turn from being a really passionate pharmacy student and pharmacist to becoming an entrepreneur, and why the shift may have seemed drastic on the outside, especially to many people that knew me and still do. It was actually more like a natural evolution for me in pursuit of time and location freedom, and of course, more impact. And one of the biggest challenges that I had, that I faced during this transition, was actually navigating the conversations that I had with both family, friends, and colleagues who had always known me as the brilliant pharmacist. So coming to that place like of rebranding myself as a copywriter, as a marketer, when my entire identity sort of was tied to pharmacy, wasn't the easiest thing, both internally for myself and also to other people that knew me and were also looking at me making these shifts gradually. So when I first started exploring digital marketing and copywriting, and I was just learning a lot of things. And then I remember being super conscious about how to start talking about it openly. One of those reasons was because on my LinkedIn at the time, I normally would share some details of what I was experiencing at the community pharmacy store I was where I was working. And then subsequently, when I was working at the hospital, I think there are times I would share like some of the things I was seeing, some of the cases, and how I was relating to the patients and all of that. So imagine me coming to a point where I started slowly switching from these things to talking about copywriting and marketing, not just online, but also offline as well. I was met with a range of reactions, like seriously, like I was met with a range of reactions from my friends, from my family, and from my colleagues. Some were supportive, some were curious, some were skeptical, and then there were some that were outrightly dismissive, like it just didn't make sense to them. But at this point, I would actually like to add that one of the things that really made it sort of easier for me was that my husband was very supportive. He just felt like I had this ability to excel and thrive in anything that I wanted to do. So to him, it was like, as much as I want to do it, and I'm sure that this is what I want to do, he always gives me his full support. No skepticism, no dismissing of my ideas, nothing of that sort, just full on 100% support. Like, so that really made it easy for me. So aside that, I had people that kept asking me, oh, that I shouldn't throw away my degree, or, like more like maybe asking even like maybe details on would I maybe get higher degrees to support my existing doctor of pharmacy degree. There are just so many questions that at some point, like it felt like as if they had a picture in their minds of what they expect me to be, what they expect me to do, the trajectory that they expect my life to take. And somehow I wasn't living up to it. And I remember sometimes when I tried to bring up that conversation to family at that point, it was like they were trying to like figure it out. I remember having to like take my time to really explain to my grandmom what is it that I do and how I make money from it. So sometimes those conversations were usually uncomfortable, to be honest. Like sometimes they were usually uncomfortable, but then the thing is that I understood their concerns. After all, I had invested years of sweat, tears, time into becoming a pharmacist, and I took it really seriously. Like I took my studies really seriously, and pharmacy is still a prestigious and stable career path. one that I have no regrets at all, and I am really proud of. But then what many failed to see was that somehow it was like doing the traditional 9 to 5 that I was doing at the time, then and without even talking about like the different shifts when maybe I have to like maybe do like maybe the night shift and all of that. Somehow it stifled my entrepreneurial spirit. I just knew that I'm not someone that is going to be defined by a single thing, or someone that is just going to like fall into a monotonous routine every single day of my life. So like the rigid confines of those sort of conventional employment weren't really letting me to express most of my creative ideas and then the other things that I was passionate about. So rather than trying to justify or defend my choices, I really just learned to like see it from their angle, to understand where they were coming from, and to patiently explain myself and how it's allowing me to combine even my love for practicing healthcare and communicating with people, to creating what I'm currently doing and expressing myself and building what I consider something that has a scalable income potential in different, literally in different niches actually at this moment. So slowly, when I started having results, especially even my family, they started becoming wowed actually at some of the results that I was getting. And then they even started rooting for me, promoting my courses to people, telling people about what I do. I actually have different people reach out to me or call me because my mom told them about what I do and they want to learn from me, or they want me to coach them and all of that. So sometimes I think when it comes to like navigating these conversations with people that are close to you or people that the opinions matter to you, you just have to be patient. You just have to see it from their point of view. But you have to be so convinced in what you're doing that you won't let them sway you or make you confused or make you second guess yourself. Because one thing that I've realized in entrepreneurship is that you have to be your biggest cheerleader. Most times, no one will understand the idea that you have the way that you do. Sometimes it will not make sense, especially when you're transitioning from a career like maybe from when you're transitioning from a healthcare career, maybe you are a physician, you're a pharmacist, you're a nurse, whatever it is that you're practicing in the healthcare field, because people understand how much stress, how much time, how much effort and the years that it takes like to get this degree. So it doesn't make sense when you just want to like go from doing that to doing something else. And then it's not everybody that maybe that their risk appetite is the same as yours. So when you're trying to like step into uncharted waters and all of that, some people don't quite get it. It's like, why are you throwing this away? What if it doesn't work? Is this really what you want to do with your life and all of that? So sometimes, like when I understand it from that perspective, it makes it way easier to have those conversations because I can understand their fears, their concern, and all of that. Now, how did I rebrand myself? Because it's one thing to decide to like to make a decision to transition to something else, to another field, to something that you really want to do, to something you're passionate about. But then how do you take people from seeing you as an authority in this field to an authority in another field? Or maybe even if you're not even an authority yet in your own field, but like seeing you as someone in this field then to something else. So being that I used to share a lot about what I was doing as a pharmacist. So when I started to rebrand, one of the things that I did is that I started upskilling. I wanted to get really good. I wanted to get really knowledgeable at what I was doing. That when I talk about it in a way that shows that I am not just trying to like maybe talk about something that I just read online or about something that I've taken the time to study, to practice, and I know what I am doing. So I invested so much in upskilling myself. I invested time. I invested money. I was so interested in learning from those that were ahead of me and were getting the kind of results that I wanted to get. Then I slowly started talking about the books I was reading. Sometimes I was talking about the courses I was taking. I was talking about what I was learning from those that I was looking up to in that field. I was just sharing bits and pieces of my story and, what I was doing at the moment. So it was like I was bringing people along the transition. So it's like, oh, I read this book last month and this is what I learned from it. Oh, I read this email from so and so person's newsletter and this is what I learned from it. And the more I was learning a lot, then I started sharing tips around it. I think in some occasions, I even shared about how I'm going from doing this to now exploring this interest and how it is going so far. And because I was still working at the teaching hospital when I got into copywriting, I would then share some of my experiences as a pharmacist and then tie it into a marketing and copywriting lesson. It could be an experience that I had to do maybe with people that maybe people I meet at work, or maybe my interactions with patients, whatever the case may be. And then gradually, I changed my digital presence from only talking about pharmacy then to talking about copywriting. But of course, I still talk about that every now and then because I can't take that away from my story. It's part of my experience. I will always be a pharmacist, whether I am actively practicing or not. As a matter of fact, I am licensed in my country and I intend to continue renewing my license. And then I started updating my LinkedIn profile with most of the experience I was having as a copywriter. Let's say a client hires me, I complete a project and all of that. I would talk about it. I would update that on my profile, whether it's maybe just making a post about it or maybe updating that on my experience session. I updated my headline, my about section to reflect what I now do without taking away from where I'm coming from. So when you come there, you see, oh, she studied pharmacy here and oh, she did this exchange program at this time and all of that. You will still see some of those things here and there. But now I was being intentional about presenting myself as a pharmacist. So as a copywriter. So the thing there is that you have to be audacious, like you have to be bold when it comes to rebranding yourself. Because sometimes some of the things that hold us back is actually the internal dialogue that we're having with ourselves. Because I kept feeling like, oh, what if when those that were my mates in school come across my LinkedIn? Wouldn't they be confused? Wouldn't they be surprised and all of that? So I had to first of all, attack those internal dialogues head on and tell myself the narrative that I want to hear about myself, which is that I'm confident in my decision. This is what I want to do now. I am very capable of doing this now. It is okay for me to reinvent myself as many times as I want to. And it is okay for me to pursue other passions aside pharmacy and clinical care. And one of the key things that I learned from this rebranding process is this. It's more like the power of leaning into my story and my journey, knowing that it doesn't have to be the same as everyone else's, and it's okay. And understanding that even if at a point I decide this is not what I want to do anymore, I can still decide to do something else, and it is perfectly okay. As long as it leads me closer to my goals and my dreams, and I find peace and fulfillment in it. So that is one of the reasons that I didn't try to maybe distance myself from my pharmacy roots, or maybe I just embraced it as an integral part of my journey. And then at a point, I even made it a competitive advantage. So I remember there was a time I was looking for, oh, how do I niche down and all of that. There was a time that I had this website dedicated to offering my services to clients and businesses in the healthcare niche. So I made them understand that with my background as a pharmacist, a ton of research I have done, and most of the experience I had, being part of the publishing writers for the International Federation of Pharmacists, and some of the other things that I did while I was practicing and while I was a student, and how that will make me the best choice for their brand. So I use it as my competitive advantage. But why I didn't stick to that particular niche is because I'm naturally a very curious person. So I didn't limit myself to only working with clients in the healthcare niche. I just started exploring other niches, the real estate niche, software as a service niche, high ticket coaching, consulting, and so many other niches that I ended up writing in and writing for. So that's that. And the thing is that looking back, I actually believe that copywriting was one of the best things that has happened to me, because it made me really understand marketing. It made me understand human psychology. It made me to start diving into sales, to start learning how sales work and all of that. And somehow it helped me I can even see some connections between what I was doing and what I'm doing now. Like the empathy that I need to demonstrate when I am serving, when I'm working with patients is the same empathy that I need to reflect in what I am doing now. When I am trying to like pass a marketing message and all of that. So I am living out my entrepreneurial dreams and literally creating a fulfilling lifestyle, if I dare say, on my terms. Yeah. And then another thing is that another thing that I wanted to point out is that even though that those conversations and those rebranding process were not very comfortable, they were uncomfortable time because there are times that I will second guess myself. Am I sure about this? What if I finish rebranding myself and then I find out that this is not what I want to do anymore? What about when I meet people and then they ask me, so where do you work now? I once had someone laugh at me and that was a pharmacist that I worked with when I was working at the teaching hospital. When they asked me, oh, more like maybe where was I now? Something in that line. And from my answer, I think maybe he sort of felt like I was at home doing nothing, maybe being jobless. And because I actually had 2 kids in close succession, all while pursuing my entrepreneurial dreams. So maybe it felt like, okay, so this is what I'm doing with my life now. So, but I didn't let all those things stop me. So one thing you will know is that having these conversations and then rebranding yourself can be quite uncomfortable. But then if you want it bad enough, you're not going to let any of those things stop you. And then another thing that helped me is that I got crystal clear on my why. And then I communicated my vision confidently. Why did I want to transition? I got crystal clear on that. And I'm really happy with how I've come so far. I'm really happy with like how much I've come in these few years that I have transitioned and what I'm doing now. And even more importantly, for the dreams that I have and where I see myself going, you know, like the projections that I have made, the brands I'm building, the fact that I kind of keep bringing on new team members and all of that. I'm really happy with where I am and the direction that I am going. So if you're considering maybe making a career transition or rebranding yourself, I would recommend that you lean into your unique story. That's my advice. Invest in continual growth and then stay true to your why and your purpose. The truth is that the journey may be daunting, but then the rewards of actually like doing what you've always wanted to do, of giving yourself permission to explore different passions, different interests. Like, I feel like that's priceless. That's immeasurable. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. And I hope that you took something out of this. And if you're already transitioned, or maybe you're considering transitioning, that you don't slow down, you don't doubt yourself as you continue to pursue your entrepreneurial ventures. Thank you for joining us on another insightful episode of the White Coat Entrepreneurs podcast. I hope you've gained valuable insights and inspiration to follow your entrepreneurial journey. Whether you're still practicing in the healthcare field or have ventured fully into new entrepreneurial paths, before we wrap up, I need you to do 2 things. First, join our White Coat Entrepreneurs newsletter by visiting www.whitecoatentrepreneurs.com so you can stay connected with exclusive content, industry updates, and valuable resources to help you navigate the challenges and opportunities of being an entrepreneur. Second, if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. Your support means everything. It could help us reach even more physicians, pharmacists, and entrepreneurs and other healthcare professionals turned entrepreneurs. And remember, you have the power to create wealth and positive change by combining your clinical expertise with an entrepreneurial mindset. So keep innovating, keep pushing forward, and keep inspiring others along the way. Until next time, this is Victoria Onyeje, wishing you success in all your entrepreneurial endeavors.